Ask Reddit.
What family habit ritual did you not realize was weird until someone pointed it out to you? After my mom died, the hospital bills had become so bad that we were right on the edge of declaring bankruptcy. We didn't have enough money to buy a Christmas tree and too far away from a pine forest to reasonably have access to a free one, so my dad took us to the store and we got a bunch of candy canes and ritualistically hung candy canes around the rim of a lampshade. It became the Christmas lamp after we had money again and Dad started doing a real tree decorating thing. We still kept up making the Christmas lamp. Now it just feels weird around the holidays without a lamp displaying mint hooks. It didn't occur to me that no one else had a Christmas lamp until college when someone asked me where my tree was and I pointed to a lamp. To me, it's a perfectly honorable tree replacement when your funds aren't great.
The grease pole. My grandpa had a wooden pole 10 feet tall and just a little thicker than what you could grab with two hands in the backyard. It had a crossbar at the top and a clothespin on each end of the crossbar. He would grease the pole, clip a bill in each clothespin, $5, $10, sometimes $20, and line up the cousins to take a turn trying to climb the pole and grab the money. I didn't think everyone did this necessarily, but I thought it was common enough that people at least kinda knew about it. The handful of people I've described it to found it very hilarious. We have a festival in the summer where we have a greasy pole. It's basically a telephone pole sideways over water with a flag on the end. They put a shit ton of grease on it, and a bunch of drunk Italians try to run the length and grab the flag. Winner has bragging rights and drinks for free wherever they go the whole weekend. St. Peter's Fiesta.
Spaghetti sandwiches. I've never heard of this but definitely intrigued. It's really just a tasty and very efficient way to consume spaghetti. Used to do this when broke and needed to spice up a can of spaghetti-os. What type of bread is best? Regular sliced white bread, my man. Yes, I did just assume your gender. My parents didn't let us have keys to the house when we were pre-teenage, so when we'd get home from school or a friend's house, we would open a window and crawl through it to get inside. I never thought twice about it until a friend told me it looked like I was robbing the place after he dropped me off for the first time. May I ask why? I mean, if it's a safety concerns, thinking you weren't responsible enough yet to have a key, it seems more unsafe to leave an easily accessible window unlocked. We had the same thing. The windows were secured with one of these, http://alarmdenmark.dk/article/vinduesakring/. The idea was you had to close the window fully to unlatch it. However, it was a piece of string around the end, and lift it. Push the window fully closed and pull hard, and it was open. It was easy to leave a piece of string lying around in the garden. I'm actually not sure why. I think it was one of those I didn't have keys when I was your age things. To start, literally every night of my childhood, my mother forced my siblings and I to read for a half an hour before bedtime. When I first started going over to friends' houses for sleepovers, I would bring a book with me and would always try to get my half an hour in before we went to sleep. My friends always pointed out how strange it was, but I assumed that's just how the world worked. You read before you sleep, like a universal rule. My dad did this, but then it backfired when I ended up loving stories and would try to sneak a book and flashlight into my bed after lights off, and he had to make a rule, no more reading after bedtime, so I'd get a decent amount of sleep and not be super irritable the next day. Ironically, my dad was pretty okay with my reading at night. He was an avid reader too, and he and I were both night owls anyway, so he didn't push it. He would warn me about my eyesight or sleeping habits, but then we would be reading until 1 or 2 in the morning, and when we would both go and get some water or snack, we'd talk about what we were reading. Mother's side of the family never just wrote names on gift tags at Christmas, they wrote riddles and stories. The tag message was usually a hint at what was inside. It was a type of game to them where a really good tag was obvious in retrospect, but too oblique to guess until the present was opened. In Sweden, it's traditional to write rhymes with a clue to what's inside on the tag. My moms are usually extremely clever and rhyme really well, others are somewhat uninspired. Kara god God I Hodgden, Detta har jag jord I slodgden, meaning dear God in heaven. I made this in woodshop class, it makes wrapping gifts somewhat more time consuming, and opening them much more so. Every rhyme has to be read out loud, the givee has to guess what's inside, and then everyone else gets to guess, and only then can the gift be unwrapped. I didn't realize living in a house full of piles of junk and having to scooch through the hallway between boxes was weird. After a kid pointed out how weird it was, I never invited anyone into my house again. I, too, grew up in a hoarder's house. It didn't get really bad until I was in like middle school. After I moved out it got unbearable. My little sister still lives there and I just don't understand how she does it. I think it's remarkably easy to get used to when you grow up with it. I had a chance to move out from my hoarder parent and it was hard. I felt like he would fall apart without me there. Like my presence was what kept the house from getting too bad. But I knew I'd feel even worse if I'd stayed and become his enabler assistant maid. It's hard, good luck to your sister. My parents are like this. Granted, I think it happens to a lot of Asian families that moved from nothing to America. I used to be okay with it, and growing up people would call me messy sloppy until my friends realized I was the cleanest person in my house. I moved out of the state and went to college, then graduate school for 4 years, 8 years out of the house, and just moved back home, and holy shit, I can't bear it anymore, it bothers me so much nowadays. I have no idea how I did it before I left for college. My best friend in J.R. High's house was this way: you had to navigate the trail to get around their living room, most other rooms were fairly normal. Dad used a red light bulb at the rear entrance. He thought that regular clear bulbs were too bright, whereas the red light didn't shine through our parents' nearby bedroom window. It wasn't until a friend remarked, "Your dad is running a red light district in the neighborhood," that I thought of it that way. Red light doesn't ruin your night vision. That's why most of those military flashlights have the red filter. If you look at red light after your eyes adjust to the night, it won't blind you and ruin it. Whereas if you look at white light, it'll be like you just shut the lights off and you're temporarily blind. To add, red is very close to the end of one end of our visible wavelengths, next to infrared, so our pupils don't dilate nearly as much to red light, but you can still see fairly well. I have hue color bulbs in my house and regularly set them to red at night so I can get up and grab water, use washroom, and not be blinded when I crawl back into bed afterwards.
My family has always poured milk into our bowls of ice cream. Always thought that was the only way to do it until I had ice cream at a friend's house and had to ask for milk. My family did this but with cake. Like, the first day the cake was made you ate it plain, but after that when it was slightly more stale, you ate it in a bowl with milk. I'd totally forgotten about that until I read your comment. We did this too. But it was my mom's loophole of letting us have cake for breakfast. It was cute and especially yummy with stalish chocolate cake. My husband thinks I am a loony for it. I grew up putting peanut butter and syrup on pancakes, waffles, and French toast. The first girlfriend for whom I made breakfast gave me the weirdest look when I set down the peanut butter in front of her. I just assumed that's how everybody ate them. Next level breakfast game. Your family got it right. Peanut butter and maple syrup sandwiches. You're welcome.